guys, my name is Michael, and basically making video right now because I'm transitioning from female to male.
So I figured if you're wondering, other people might be too, so let's go over it here. I went under anesthesia 13 times in 2019 due to complications with my phalloplasty.
13 surgeries is a lot for a single calendar year. That's a lot of times going under anesthesia where a lot can happen.
Now, going into this, I was aware of possible complications. When I had my very first consult, they said phalloplasty for trans men has about a 65% success rate, and that is because of the complications that happen with the urethra.
It can be really difficult to get clear statistics on exactly how many complications one can reasonably expect. And as I've documented in the first-person narratives, there's a high degree of variability between individuals that's dependent on a lot of factors. And so one thing seems to be clear, however, which is that there is a discrepancy between what the individuals seeking this procedure consider a success going into it and what is counted as a success later on down the road, where expectations are adjusted downward and downward until they're at the point where being able to pee again, something they could do before the surgery just fine, that's the metric of success. And it's difficult to watch because you imagine, and some people have caught this on record too, and it seems to be that this person experienced one set of expectations going in, and then they discovered on the other end of the surgery things were very different, and they actually weren't adequately prepared for some of it.
Phalloplasty actually means tube within a tube.
It's a series of tubes.
The flap that they take from the most common donor sites being either the forearm where I had mine done or the thigh, they use a portion of to form the urethral lengthening. Two most common complications that occur with this are fistulas and strictures. Fistulas are really tiny holes somewhere along the urethra, and then leakage can occur, which is obviously a problem down the road. A stricture is the narrowing of the urethra, and if it becomes too narrow where urine cannot make it through, that is an immediate problem.
When all of a sudden he heard a strange noise. It was a leak in the dike. Right away the little boy realized what would happen if the hole got any bigger. The whole darn Amsterdam would bust, and entire buildings would get swept away.
Help! Someone! H-E-L-P! Help!
This was the complication that caused me the most trouble. While the urethra is healing, typically phalloplasty patients have two catheters, an SP catheter, which is a little below the belly button, and the standard catheter that you're probably picturing.
I have another video in the Phalloplasty Files series that is called Folie à Deux, which is a reference to the psychological condition by a homophonous name, meaning it sounds the same but it's spelled differently. And in that case, that condition is insanity of two, it means. And so it means that one person has an organic delusional disorder of some sort, and another person buys into it to the point where they start to believe that the first person's delusions are true and act in accordance with that. And I called the episode that because of the two catheter situation and the fact that one of the catheters is called a Foley catheter.
Can allow the phallus and the urethra lengthening to continue to heal. So long story short, I went under anesthesia so many times to repair strictures.
Anesthesiology is not an exact science. And anytime you are going under anesthesia, the surgeon or the anesthesiologist is having to balance competing interests and try to optimize things to maintain your blood pressure and maintain your oxygenation, but also keep you out of pain, keep you unconscious, and keep you paralyzed. And so it's a balancing act, and mistakes can happen. Blood pressure can fall too much during surgery. Perhaps the surgeon nicks something and there's a brief bleed or this or that. Something can happen, and you don't always know that something happened. Sometimes you just come out of it and you're just fuzzy now, and you're not sure why. And you attribute it to situational factors, but maybe it doesn't ever fully go away. Maybe it causes a lot of difficulty in functioning in other areas. Maybe it does slowly go away, but a lot of people go through that and then it never gets recognized for what it is, which is a brain injury.
Ultimately, they took a skin graft from behind my ear and...
Lend me your ears!
and they ended up repairing it. It's now been 4 years, and I've been good. No, not everybody ends up having complications. It is very common. I hope this answers your question, and as always, feel free to ask me anything. Much love.
Alright, so this video is going to be about some of the emotional struggles of phalloplasty. I know a lot of you guys were interested in hearing more, so here it is. The recovery time was really foggy for me, so I'm going to kind of let her take the wheel with this.
It sounds like she was recovering basically all the time for a year because she was having either a major surgery or a revision on average of more than once a month. So the question is, was she foggy because of the pain and the recovery and the medications and the stress? Or was there some sort of injury that happened during one of those anesthesia episodes that created some mild injury? It's delicate balance for the anesthesiologist to drug somebody enough that they don't feel the pain, the severe pain, unimaginable pain of a surgery, and don't move and possibly react to the pain, and also don't remember the pain. And these are all different functions that would need to be addressed by the multiple drugs that they give. And you can't just knock someone out and expect that to be adequate either. They tried that with burn victims, and burn victims who were being debrided without pain relief would actually, it would change their blood viscosity, the stress of the pain, because pain is a real physical phenomenon that has effects. In any case, so the anesthesiologist is balancing that effort against the effects of the medications that might suppress the breathing reflex or affect blood pressure in such a way that blood pressure is too low for part of the surgery. And that would cause an ischemic injury to the brain, which is another way of saying it would cause a stroke. It would cause a brain injury from inadequate blood pressure. And so a lot can happen in surgeries. And you're also fingers crossed that the people performing the surgeries are at the top of their game, that they're not tired, that they're not hiding an addiction, that they're not any number of things. So why was she foggy? I don't know.
So what do you remember when it comes to the emotional struggles of phalloplasty?
It was really stressful because I was working full time and going to school and also trying to take care of you, but mostly it was really stressful for me because I felt very alone. There was a lot of support for you and all these doctors and nurses and social workers that were there if you needed something, but there really wasn't anybody there if I needed something. So there was nobody that I could really talk to or reach out to or get any sort of advice from. So it was basically just me carrying all of this weight while trying to make sure that you weren't carrying any weight and trying to make sure that you were okay. So it just was a really isolating feeling for me.
Pursuing these boondoggles puts immense stress on loved ones that are there to take care of you, who see the injuries up close and personal, who want to be good friends. They want to be good partners. And this asks so much of them that they don't expect it. And it may be years before they really process that, wow, that was actually a traumatic thing that I went through. And I have feelings about that are valid. I'm allowed to be angry at this person for prioritizing a cosmetic intervention like that over our relationship, over me, over their ability to participate in the relationship. It's okay to have feelings like that. It doesn't make you the same as somebody that would abandon a partner for getting sick. Because it's difficult to watch somebody pursue things like this and watch the aftermath, and watch the effect on them, and be alone with it, and have all this pressure on you. And then to realize, you know what, that was actually not necessary. None of that was necessary. And so this person's choice upsets me. It took me years to come to that conclusion about a partner I had. So
that makes sense because this isn't something that there's a handbook for, This isn't something that most people go through.
I felt like the doctors and everybody really like prepared us for all of the physical injuries and all of that we were going to be dealing with, but I don't feel like anybody really emphasized how emotionally draining and scary and just like exhausting it was going to be, especially with all of the complications and just all of the things that could and did go wrong. I don't really feel like we were prepared for all of that.
So did they really get informed consent?
So from my end, one of the hardest parts of all of this was having the catheter in for so long. They originally told me it would be about 6 weeks that I'd have the catheter in for, and it turned into closer to 9 months in total.
One of the reasons that I decided no on the top surgery back in the day was that when I had my wisdom teeth out, they told me it would be a couple days, maybe 3 days, before it was back to normal, and it was 3 weeks. When I had my appendix out, they told me you'll be back at work in regular activities in 4 days, and it was 2 months before I could walk without support. The thing is that we have a lot of different genetic variations in terms of our connective tissue, and I talk about connective tissue a lot because it's just really key to understanding it. It's the ties that bind. It's the interstitial space and fluid. It's what ties it all together. It's important to think about connective tissue. And so people have stronger and weaker connective tissue, and then they also have connective tissue that may generate faster or slower, and it's all based on variations that you don't know what variation you have. You can try to self-diagnose from the internet with a connective tissue disorder. There's various things you can look for. Hypermobility is generally a sign. Cigarette paper scarring is another one that you can look for. But in any case, people who have more genetically weaker connective tissue, they tend to take longer to recover from things. Additionally, if you are overweight, as I've covered in other episodes, that's also going to make it take longer because a lot more flesh had to be cut through for the procedure to be done. And so for all of these reasons, the estimates that they give on how long it's going to take you to recover, they're just incredibly unreliable. And so I did some mental math and decided, that would actually be an unpredictable, horrific experience. And so I'm very fortunate in that respect.
The emotional stress that puts on you alone is a lot. It's a lot to handle. I had to propose to her in Disney with a catheter. I felt really alone for a long time. Like I said, I was recovering for a lot longer than they told me that I should have been. So for me, it was a lot to not be able to take care of myself, to rely on other people, especially being bedridden for so long and alone during the day a lot of the time.
Dysphoria cured!
But that's about all the time we have left on this video.
So one thing you have to really think about when you're considering phalloplasty is if you're okay with a big scar, because realistically, phalloplasty does leave some big scars. I had radial forearm phalloplasty, so it is on my arm. And my scars healed really well, but you can see there's like this lightning scar also on. Now, like the second that I saw this surgeon's results, I knew that I did want phalloplasty.
There's a concept in marketing called viral marketing. And the idea behind it is that people are more likely to listen to recommendations that are coming from a friend who has no interest other than wanting to help us. And so people will be paid in order to recommend things to their friends as though it's coming from a sincere, friendly gesture and not from a sales rep. And so sometimes watching these videos and watching them describe how they deliberated and how they mediated through the process of deciding to ultimately buy a phalloplasty because it's the best thing ever, from this particular surgeon in specifically, that there might be some viral marketing, some kickbacks happening that are not being disclosed. I don't know. You let me know what you think.
But I just couldn't picture myself ever being comfortable with the scar that it leaves on your arm. I thought hard, and like the benefits definitely outweighed the downsides for me, so I had to go with it. Definitely still the best decision of my life. One of the best decisions of the good decisions I've made.